Good morning. Good morning. My name is Louise Gephardt, and I use the pronouns she and her, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and it's my great privilege to welcome you here this morning. UUCB is located on the ancestral homelands of the Wabanaki people who have deep and enduring and ongoing relationships with Brunswick's land and waterways. We acknowledge the painful legacy of this region's colonial history and commit to better understanding it, while also welcoming the presence of the Wabanaki, whose people and culture still live within and contribute to the vitality of this community we share. Today is Sunday, February 23rd, and our own Reverend Dr. Karma Amos is leading the service. Our music is performed by Will Bristol and our choir. If you are new or visiting today and would like more information about our church, please stop at the visitors table in the fellowship hall. The folks there will be glad to answer your questions and give you any advice that you need. And in the interest of safety, please note that there are 2 exits from the sanctuary. One is through the door you came in the back, and the second exit is over in the corner by the AV room. And there's also an exit in the back for people in the lifespan spiritual formation area of the building. And as a member of the board, I want to thank you for being patient as we deal with our wonderful problem of growth that we're having this year. We welcome your feedback and we appreciate everybody's contributions to our ideas. And as we told you before, we're going to be experimenting with different kinds of things to try to make more room and a more welcoming atmosphere for our congregation. So please bear with us, give us feedback. We'll be asking you more formally for some at some point. And thank you for being willing to be uncomfortable for a while we figure this out. The Immigrant Justice Focus Group will be distributing immigrant Know Your Rights cards, called the Red Cards, for people in the event of being stopped by ICE. So after the service today, please stop by the card table in the Mary Meeting Room to pick up a bunch to distribute to your friends and neighbors. Thank you. And Will has an announcement.
Good morning. My name is Will Bristol. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm fortunate to be your music director here. We have a drum circle, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, that will start happening every month on the first Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. here in the sanctuary. So if you'd like to come, there will be drums available and other percussion instruments, but also bring another instrument if you'd like to play that, even if it's not a drum. And hope to see you there.
As we begin the service today, please silence your mobile devices. And once again, welcome. We're glad you're here.
You'll hear from the choir today a few different Longfellow texts. for this service. You might have also heard some of these pieces last night if you were at Bowdoin College. We're going to start with one that uses the text of the builders. You are all builders, so I invite you to rise up and sing the words and the music in your order of service. Stuart will show you when that happens. Thank you.
That got us off to a rousing start. The chalice lighting this morning is from Marginal Wisdom by Leslie Takahashi. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe the teaching of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power behind a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. Life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both, of and. We are taught to see in absolutes. Good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, that the margins hold the center. Today, we light our chalice in honor of Longfellow Days in Brunswick and the power of poetry to help us see and include people unlike us, which is everyone, as well as the many facets of ourselves.
That's good. Okay. Hi. On behalf of the whole Longfellow Days Committee, I want to say thank you to everybody. You're going to think I'm going to talk about performers who was there last night. Could you just go like this? Performers, too. Oh, my goodness. It was really something, huh? And if you weren't there, I'm sort of hoping they made a video of it. You lose something, though, in a video. We're all aware of that, right? This, what's going on here right now, is all that people had in Longfellow's day. How lucky were they? You may wonder why it is that we celebrate Longfellow every February. This old white guy is really so passé, they don't even teach his work anymore. Have you noticed? Like, there probably are people in this room who could recite Longfellow poems, and young children don't even know, who is this? And I guess I want to share with you that for me, it's the power of legacy. We all act in a certain way each day, hoping that somehow or another the goodness that we present will become kind of infectious, right? And I think that writers can have a legacy, and we can thank them for where we are today. Certain phrases, like Shakespeare's phrase, "in the mind's eye," right? You may not even know how old that phrase is, and yet we use it with power. So I'm going to share two poems. That's okay? Okay. I'm going to share two poems. And with all due respect to Longfellow, I've cut 3 stanzas out of it. Sorry. But the truth is powerful stanzas, no pun intended, can stand alone. So, but for those of you who have memorized this poem, you're going to see, what did she do there? So the first poem is by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and it's called the Psalm of Life, a psalm like singing out. And if you've read any of his work, he doesn't usually do this, but there are at least 10 exclamation points in this poem. So let me do my best here. Oh, I think he's beginning by probably talking to the people in his own period of time who were walking around wringing their hands about the government. The Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real. Life is earnest. and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, and dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us further than today. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime. And departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait. So the other day, we have endless Longfellow events, she said wearily. Who does this? There are 5 this week, if you've missed any. And I brought a big poster so you can check them out. So the other day, we had a winter wisdom talk. And the speaker at the end encouraged people to get up and recite something. He took out his cell phone and he said, you know, you have a poem in your pocket. I thought that was very clever. So he encouraged us to get up and recite. Our own Sylvia Stocker, I think, broke the ice and did it. She recited Robert Frost, Stopping in the Woods on a Snowy Evening. So there was this young man who happens to be on the Longfellow Days Committee, and he introduced me to this poem, and I thought, oh my God, that's the legacy of Longfellow. See if you can see it, okay? Modern poem. It's by Ellen Bass. It's called The World Has Need of You. Psalm of Life. And begins with a quote by Rilke, which is, everything here seems in need of us. The World Has Need of You by Ellen Bass. I can hardly imagine it as I walk to the lighthouse, feeling the ancient prayer of my arms swinging in counterpoint to my feet. Here I am, suspended between the sidewalk and the twilight. The sky is dimming so fast, it seems to be alive. What if you felt the invisible tug between you and everything? A boy on a bicycle rides by, his shirt white and open, flinging like wings behind him. It's a hard time to be human. We know too much and too little. Does the breeze need us? The cliffs? The gulls? If you've managed to do one good thing, does the ocean care? And when Newton's apple fell toward the earth, don't you think? The earth fell ever slightly toward the apple.
Please rise for our opening hymn if you're able.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Tobin Cooney-Callahan, and I serve as your Director of Lifelong Spiritual Formation. Now is the time in the service when I would like to call any children or youth up to share a story with me. So if you are young at heart, come on up. You can come if it's your first time here. You can come if it's your 1 bajillionth time here, or anywhere in between. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hello. Nice to see you. Hey, Holden. Sharp tie. Hey, how are you, Ames? Nice to see you. Hi, Sean. Hi, Nora. Good morning. So, how many of you like poetry? Well, that's good, because otherwise this has been a real drag for you. Yeah. All right. Does anybody know who Amanda Gorman is? Kind of? Yeah. You know who she is a little bit? Yeah, she's had some pretty famous poems, and she also was famous for having her poem used at President Obama's, inauguration. And she... That's what I said. That's not what I said. So she turned one of her poems into a book, and I would like to share that book with you now. But first I'm wondering if some people might want to come up on the carpet since we put it out here for you. Thanks, friends. Oh, hi, Tess. Cool shirt, Tess. You all can't see it, but she has a shark on her shirt. All right, this is Change Sings, a children anthem with words by Amanda Gorman, with pictures by Lauren Long. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tired and true dreamers. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and smarts, take a knee to make a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my chain sings. I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. I talk not only of distances from where and how we came, I also walk our differences to show how we are the same. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Changes sing where? There, inside me, because I'm the change I want to see. As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. I am the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We are what the world's becoming, and we know that it won't take long. We all hear change strumming. Why don't you sing along? And in just a moment, we are going to invite them to sing us out to our space where we're going to do some cool stuff together in the Merry Meeting Bay Room, and that includes you, Green Group. And first, I just want to say, if you are new and you haven't been here before, when we sing the children out, we sing them to activities in the back. If you have any questions about that, you can see anybody with these pretty pink tags on during coffee hour. So will you please sing us out with We Will Keep a Place for You?
Good morning. I love that song. My name is Sue Labes. I'm a member of the pastoral care team, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to read the joys and concerns this morning. Karma writes, I am heartbroken at 2 recent deaths in the queer community, resulting in rising violent prejudice. Sam Norquist, a 24-year-old trans biracial man from Minnesota, was murdered in New York after being tortured for over a month. Openly gay Iman Musin Hendricks of Cape Town, South Africa, was murdered this month. He was a tender-hearted justice warrior who built cross-cultural communities in order to make the world more inclusive and just. And Willow Whitehouse writes, I've been missing the church community, not to mention hugs in big capital letters from Carol, while battling the ugly virus that has been going around. To all my friends and acquaintances in this lovely, welcoming, and caring community, I am requesting that you send healing thoughts and energy for my upcoming surgery on the 26th, and I eagerly await being back in your strong and nurturing presence. And Carol writes, last night's Longfellow program at Bowdoin was a joy beyond explanation. Thank you, Will, Judd, and the choir. You rocked. And earlier this month, Jean Tompkins writes this, earlier this month, I celebrated my 93rd birthday with family and friends. Hooray! Hooray! We could all sing for her. So if you have a joy or concern and cannot be in church and would like us to read it from the pulpit, you may post it on UUCB joysandconcerns@gmail.com. And if you would like to talk to someone in private, look for a member of the pastoral care team. We have light blue ribbons on our name tags. That is, if we didn't forget and take our name tag home with us last week and then have to make one. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Good morning. My name is Karma Amos. I use she, her pronouns, and it's my honor to serve as the minister of this congregation. And I'd like to offer as prayer, if you would join me in a spirit of prayer and contemplation, this poem from M. Jade Kaiser called Transcendence That Folds Us In. Let us be in a spirit of prayer. My heart clashes with a God that transcends, as in rises above, the body. This mess we're in, your pain or mine, I find little hope in a God who took on flesh only to later leave it behind. But tell me again of that divine breath, the one that animates soil and shapes life from dirt. Call me back to the roots of this faith. Though I bow my head, I do no solemn submitting to any power on high. I lower my gaze in prayer to the deep. I seek the wisdom of holy kin closest to the ground, those who make feasts of life's remnants, live out miracles of integration, and bear witness to the glory of the dark. There are too many lights on all the time, and all the tall towers grow more fragile each day. So I rest my hope in the God of the below, whose embrace has always been with us, with us. Theirs is a transcendence that never leaves us behind, but always promises to fold us in.
Steve Black, I use he, him. I was very pleased when Cindy Parker invited me to read my newest and most loved poet, Naomi Shihab Nye, in a letter to any would-be terrorist. In the email that Cindy sent, she put my name right after the word terrorist, and I wondered if that... I thought maybe that wasn't by accident, but I hope it's I'd like to be known as a terrorist for love. We will all die soon enough. Why not take the short time we have on this delicate planet and figure out some really interesting things we might do together? I promise you, God would be happier. So many people are always trying to speak for God. I know it is a very dangerous thing to do. I tried my whole life not to do it, but this one time is an exception. Because there are so many people crying and scared and confused and complicated and exhausted right now, it is as if we have all had a giant simultaneous breakdown. I beg you, as your distant Arab cousin, as your American neighbor, listen to me. Our hearts are broken, as yours may also feel broken in some ways we can't understand unless you tell us in words. Killing people won't tell us. We can't read that message. Find another way to live. Don't expect others to be like you. Read Rumi. Read Arabic poetry. Poetry humanizes us in a way that news or even religion has a harder time doing. A great Arab scholar, Dr. Salma Jayouzi, said, quote, "If we read one another, we won't kill one another." Read American poetry. Plant a mint. Find a friend who is so different from you. You can't believe how much you have in common. Love them. Let them love you. Surprise people in gentle ways, as friends do. The rest of us will try harder too. Make our family proud. Thank you.
The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens and the curlew calls. Along the sea stands, damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town. And the tide rises, the tide falls. The tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on the roofs and walls. But the sea in the darkness calls. Little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands. And the tide rises, the tide falls. Morning breaks. The steeds in their stalls stamp and nigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, and nevermore returns the travel to the shore. And the tide rises, the tide falls.
Tide
It's so good to see you all after 2 weeks of cancellations. And I'm so glad for, yes.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Isn't Longfellow Days cool? I'm newish to Maine, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities that the legacy Marilee was talking about affords us. And this year in particular, that collection of singers that some of you saw last night included the Mid-Coast Senior College singers, the Bowdoin College Chamber Choir, our choir, and singers from other choruses in the community. And they sang their faces off last night at the Longfellow event at Bowdoin, and we're so glad that some of you are here also today to delight us with poetry set to music. Now, all of you here this morning are not Unitarian Universalists, I'm going to assume, because we have guests here for the annual interfaith worship that is part of Longfellow Days. For those of you unfamiliar with our congregation, this is the month when we are focusing our reflection on a theme of the practice of inclusion. And we're aware how ironic this is, given the all-out assault on DEI programs and inclusivity practices being labeled as wokey. Suffice it to say, there are new examples every day of why inclusion must remain a vital focus for us. Now, the timing of all this means that we get to reflect on the practice of inclusion and poetry all at the same time. And for me, this is some juicy stuff right here. Because as you heard in the words of Naomi Shihab-Nye, passionately, I think she argues, even though the words are dated, they feel just as relevant today. Poetry has some power to help us with this challenge. The late Audre Lorde, who described herself as Black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, mother, warrior, poet, persuasively argued that poetry is not a luxury. And I'm quoting her here. She says, "It is the vital necessity of our existence. It forms the quality of light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams towards survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into more tangible action. The farthest horizons, she said, of our hopes and dreams and our fears are cobbled together with our poems, carved from the rock experiences of our daily lives." She explicitly named poetry as power, as our power. She says that poems give us strength and courage to see, to feel, to speak, and to dare. And friends, I want to say that the world is depending on us to do those things with intention right now. So I want to share some poems with you that illustrate some of the power poetry has to help move us toward greater inclusivity. And before focusing on how this helps us to include others, I want to briefly note that poetry also helps us do this with ourselves, building our capacity, if we choose to, for including more honestly the many contradicting parts of us that aren't always neat or consistent. As a personal example that requires a touch of background for full effect, since I was a tiny child, I have been terrified of insects and insect-like creatures. I don't even know enough to categorize them appropriately. From grasshoppers to spiders, in the presence of insects, I freak out. The most ridiculous examples that are seared into my memory were summer nights in Oklahoma, standing at the edge of the football field, ready for the marching band number, and I would be there still, sacks at the ready, until one of the 89,000 June bugs who were hovering around the stadium lights would start to dive bomb. I did the most uncoordinated freak-out dance, complete with hoots and hollers, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who still remembers it. I say this so that you will understand that my fear about bugs is big. And for much of my adult life, I was unmotivated to change that. The poet, Nikki Giovanni, became a meddlesome conscience for me about this after I read her poem, Allowables, and began to understand both the literal and the metaphorical points she made. Here's the poem. I killed a spider, not a murderous brown recluse, nor even a black widow. And if the truth were told, this was only a small sort of papery spider who should have run when I picked up the book. But she didn't. And she scared me, and I smashed her. I don't think I'm allowed to kill something because I am frightened. That poem changed things for me in my relationship with fear about bugs and so much more. I'm still terrified, don't get me wrong, but I'm hoping to let compassion share more of the stage with my fear. These days, there is so much fear. And there are quite a number of marginalized communities that are feeling that very acutely. There are people who have been excluded from so much of our common life because of institutional, personal, and communal prejudice that has us so fragmented from one another. So I want to center some poetry from those people right now. And the invitation to us is to listen, to empathize, to receive someone different, their testimony about their experience, and let it transform us. I want to begin with a poem called Fighting Fear with Fear from Leka Lewis. Leka, who uses the they-them pronouns, is an entrepreneurial chaplain, poet, humanist theologian, relationship anarchist, take that one with you, and candidate for UU ministry. Their first career was as a consultant helping organizations transform conflict and build inclusive culture. Here's the poem. To those who do not believe us. Why is it that some people call it democracy, but all they can feel is fear of our brown skin, queer love, rolling consonants, slow steps, wheels, spreading outside the lines, reckless bleeding heart. I have never been to the depths of the holler, the dusty oil fields, a lonely gas station on an empty road, around the ivory towers in the dead of night, without heart racing, hands clenching, stomach churning, but face serene, respectful, respectable. If I could remake the world, some days fear would be the first to go. Even losing the fear that keeps us safe might feel a fair price to pay. Why is it that my fear makes me want to tear down the structures that keep us apart, and yours wants to build them higher in case I might want to escape from my place? Maybe instead of your fear, you could just once believe mine? Poetry most certainly can help us build empathy if we will listen to the testimony of others and believe it. Palestinian poet Mossab Abu Toha wrote an incredible collection of poetry in 2022 called Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. One poem in that book is so compelling, I find myself rereading it over and over again. It's called Palestine, A to Z, and he literally goes from A to Z with poignant poetry. Do not fear, I'm only going to read A to D. A, an apple that fell from the table on a dark evening when man-made lightning flashed through the kitchen, the streets, and the sky, rattling the cupboards and breaking the dishes. Am is the linking verb that follows I in the present tense when I am no longer present, when I am shattered. B, a book that doesn't mention my language or my country and has maps of every place except for my birthplace, as if I were an illegitimate child on Mother Earth. Borders are those invented lines drawn with ash on maps and sewn into the ground by bullets. C, Gaza is a city where tourists gather to take photos next to destroyed buildings or graveyards. A country that exists only in my mind. Its flag has no room to fly freely, but there is space on the coffins of my countrymen. D, Dar means house. My grandparents left their house behind in 1948 near Jaffa Beach. A tree my father told me about stood in the front yard. Dreams of children and their parents, of listening to songs or watching plays at Al Mishal Cultural Center. Israel destroyed it in August 2018. I hate August. But plays are still performed in Gaza. Gaza is the stage. I hope you will read the rest of that poem sometime on your own. The next poem I want to share is called Poem Where No One Is Deported by Jose Olivares. Now I like to imagine La Migra running into the sock factory where my mom and her friends worked. It was all women who worked there, women who braided each other's hair during breaks, women who wore rosaries and never had a hair out of place, women who were ready for cameras or God, who ended all their sentences with si Dios quiere, as in the day before the immigration raid, when the rumor of a raid was passed around like bread and the women made plans, si Dios quiere. So when the immigration officers arrived, they found boxes of socks and all the women absent, safe at home. Those officers thought no one was working. They were wrong. The women would say it was God working. And it was God. But the God my mom taught us to fear was vengeful. He might have wet his thumb and wiped La Migra out of this world like a smudge on a mirror. This God was the God that woke me up at 7 a.m. every day for school to let me know that there was food for me and my brothers. I never asked my mom where the food came from, but she told me anyway. Gracias a Dios del chisme, who heard all La Migra's plans and whispered them into the right ears to keep our families safe. Friends, we live in a time when the divisions between us are becoming more stark, and fear is being used to make us more silent and compliant, to make us feel powerless. We cannot let it. Poetry is something that can help. I want to close with a final poem that harkens back to the first one I shared. It's written in response to Nikki Giovanni's poem, Allowables, and it is entitled Mercy, something I never thought would be political. It is by the poet Rudy Francisco. She asks me to kill the spider. Instead, I get the most peaceful weapons I can find. I take a cup and a napkin. I catch the spider. I put it outside and allow it to walk away. If I am ever caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, just being alive and not bothering anyone, I hope I am greeted with the same mercy.
Thank you, Carmen. My name is Pat Moore. I use the pronoun she, her, and I'm a member of the worship committee. This is a time in the service when we receive the offering from the congregation. All Sunday non-pledge cash is split with the monthly charities with Soul. This month's charity is Brunswick Topsom Land Trust.
The Arrow and the Song. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed a song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of a song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unbroke, and the song from beginning to end I found again in the heart of a friend.
Swiftly it flew.
Please join me in the congregational response. May these offerings sustain and grow the work of this church, weaving a tapestry of love and action. Thank you.
If you would rise in body or spirit as you are able, we will sing our closing hymn, Weave Us Together, and the words are on the screen. You may be seated. A final poem called Benediction by my friend Sean Parker Dennison. At this moment of ending, may there be a good word, a blessing to help us remember what we have so often forgotten. May the message we need be gently spoken and held in the spaces in ourselves, the fibers that hold all we need to maintain our gentleness, our courage, and our hope. At this moment of ending, may the goodness we wish for ourselves and each other, this community, ecosystem, planet, and stardust galaxy become such a part of us that we cannot tell where the blessing ends and we begin.
So before you greet your neighbor, I want to remind you, in an effort to deal, and I wish you could be up here and see this, it's really something, how many of us there are this morning. So we all like cream, sugar, and conversation, right, with our coffee. We're going to begin this Sunday having the coffee in the Mary Meeting Bay Room. You will not pick it up in the regular place. You got to go all the way back to get it, okay? Please try not to, we know we have a bottleneck, but you can deal and get back there. It's worth it to chat with your friends. So that's today's suggestion, advice, how to. And now, please greet your neighbor.